was in the label industry for probably 20 years before I decided that I was going to branch off and start my own thing, which I started in 2008. And in my living room, really just reselling labels and working with manufacturers. After 2 years of working in my living room, I branched off and opened a sales office, and then in another 2 years, we got to a point where we felt we had to start manufacturing. And having a background in flexo, my thought was based on timing is that we're not going to flexo print. It's digital printing is coming to fruition, and it's growing and accelerating. And at that point, to be frank, I was really kind of an HP guy because HP had a large percent of the market, and it was the one you knew. Well, when we finally decided we were going to buy digital, we actually bought a small Primera, which was, it was nice to do 500 labels, 200 labels, something very small. And but we learned quickly that it wasn't big enough for what we wanted to do. So we started doing a little bit of research, and Xeikon actually came up on a search, and we reached out to Xeikon, and they didn't have a lot of presence at that time in Canada in terms of sales. They actually had another graphic supply place as the sales rep, and Greg Ross was just starting. So
that was 2010, 2011, something like that?
Yeah, when we bought, actually, I think it was 2000. We started in 2012. So I think it was 2013 when we actually started manufacturing. Or got the press. It could have been December 2013, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
We decided that they had a cafe here at the Hockey Hall of Fame, and we attended that, and we just felt that Xeikon gave us the sense that they could make this easy for us, and they could make it happen. My staff were just computer people. They had no experience in flexo or in converting at all. I was the only one with any experience or background on it. So we dealing with Xeikon, and we thought we could make it happen. So we went forward and we bought our first press. And there was growing pains, but we had it up and running, and we were converting and selling labels, within the first 2 months. Things started to roll. And, the first year it was a basic, a big learning experience, but we were guided through it. And I think it was by year 3, we knew, or year 2, that we needed another machine. Our sales had grown. Running one machine was, there were so many advantages to having 2 that we could see with changing substrates in and out. To be able to leave a substrate on and run all day was going to be very, very important to our success. So we decided to move to a larger facility, invest in a second Xeikon, and things really took off from there.
By that time, when you said, okay, we felt we needed a second press, was the first press full of capacity, or was it just a hassle changing from one substrate to the other and then losing a lot of time, or was it really, no, the capacity of that first press was really used up?
Yeah, that was it. It was capacity. Right. We were already, we didn't, in reality, we could have had a second shift, but we knew that buying a second machine and would open up our throughput, and we only seen us growing in the digital market. I think a lot of the bigger companies were a little bit slow to actually commit to digital. There's a few of them that have, and more have since, but believe it or not, in our area, we were one of a handful of people that went out and invested in digital.
And what strikes me in your stories so far is that when you said, okay, I started manufacturing labels, and I knew it was not going to be flex, so it had to be digital. That was one thing that struck me. And the second thing was all my people were basically computer people, which
Yeah.
I for non-digital people that might sound strange, but for me it doesn't sound strange at all, because I think it's easier. Maybe this sounds a little bit rude, or I don't know what, but I think it's easier for computer people to learn things about labels than for label people to learn things about computers and how to do those things.
Yeah, no, I seen a lot of failures I was at a company called Metro Label, and they were fairly big, and they had HPs, and they were trying to get their operators, Flexo guys, to learn digital. And it was just a struggle. It's a totally different animal. They were not computer illiterate. And I knew right away that if I was going digital, I want guys that understand files, not plates, not inks, not cylinders. They need to understand print files.
So that was a deliberate choice of you when you started your company to choose and look for people that were computer literate. That was a deliberate choice of you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was really smart. It was really smart.
Thank you.
Okay, so you first press, then you bought your second press, two dry toner machines. Greg told me, okay, the first was a 3030 and then 3300, like 2 or 3 years later. And then what happened then from then on?
So we bought two 3030s, and then we quickly, after we bought the second one, I believe it was within 6 or 8 months, we upgraded it to a 3300 because we needed the speed. We were noticing it was great having two machines, but now our capacity has even gone that much greater that we wanted to upgrade and go to a 3300. So that was our next step, is to increase speed on one of the machines.
And that was also to add capacity. I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and then basically, okay, you were doing with those two presses until earlier this year. I understand January or so that you installed the first inkjet machine from us, the Panther.
Yes, correct.
How did you come to making that decision?
Inkjet's been in the back of my mind for the last, I would say, 2 years, based on the speed, the print quality. Not that it's dry toner is better or worse. Dry toner is stronger in some areas, inkjet stronger in others. It just gives you more things to offer. And obviously the speeds are phenomenal with the inkjet. So it was we ran out of room, and to move again, because we moved, within 3 years, and we had to move the machinery, which is a lot of work. We said to ourselves, okay, we have so much room, we can't fit another press. How do we get more throughput? We move one of the dry toner presses out. We move in an inkjet that's going to give us 160 feet a minute of digital production. So I must say, it was a tough decision because we looked at other inkjet providers, and Xeikon was new to the inkjet, so I was a little bit apprehensive on, they weren't quite as experienced in the inkjet, and how was this going to work? And we talked to a few other players in the industry, and they were really strong. And looking at the 7-color gamma too was another thing we were a little bit concerned about. But we talked to Xeikon, and they said to us, okay, we're going to fly you down. We want you to come to Chicago. We want to show you our inkjet and just go through it. And we did that. And they did a super job to make us feel that, it's a solid product. It's great technology, and it'll work for us. So again, we went with the people we knew, and we got us. And I always said it's never perfect. It's especially with technology. You're always going to have different problems. Um, but at the end of the day, if I measure it based on success, we've been very successful with the Xeikon products, and we thought it was comforting to stay with the same people. So we started the process. The install really went smoother than any of the dry toners. They did a super bang up job to get the inkjet in here, to get us to move out the dry toner press, and yeah, the whole thing was a lot less stressful than I anticipated.
How important is the front end and workflow in your day-to-day operation? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. We were very after working with the product for 5 years. We're very comfortable with the front end, the X800, and that was a big factor too. To bring in something totally different and have to run two different technologies, that was definitely raised concerns. So when although the inkjet software isn't completely tied in yet, it still is a fairly smooth flow. Um, so yeah, that was definitely part of the decision making process as well.
When do you print a certain job on the dry toner machine? When on the inkjet? How do you decide that? Is, I don't know, maybe substrate, maybe quality, maybe job run or run length?
We're still learning because we've been up and running for 4 months or 5 months now, and definitely we love running the chrome material on the inkjet because we find through the dry toner there's a lot of static electricity, and the for the most part, I would say 8% of the time, the inkjet result on chrome is much easier and much more consistent. So although you're engaging white, so you're truly only getting 100 feet a minute, it just it prints out much better. And then obviously the larger runs, we're big in the craft beer, and the craft beer went from runs of 5,000 to 10. So now we're running 60,000 labels 5x8 for canned beer. So those runs have went from 3,000 feet to 20, 30,000 feet of stock. So we found it, and a lot of them, they like a matte lamination. So in the end of the day, it's hard to tell which press it's run on when you throw a lamination as such on there.
Even though you run most of those beer labels on inkjet, you still do a matte lamination on top of those. Is that correct?
Some of them, not all, but a lot of them. A lot of the craft beer here, they've adapted to the matte lamp, and the inkjet gives it a nice gloss, which preferably I like it. I think it looks great, but yeah.
So basically, okay, the material and then the longer runs you do on the inkjet, and all the other stuff then on dry toner, or how do you balance that out?
Well, the dry toner, any specialty materials such as the estate stocks, any of the matte stocks, we run that on the dry toner press. We run a lot of just regular white bop. A lot of smaller run beer labels are run on the dry toner. The dry toner is we found a very consistent machine. It has a more maintenance than the inkjet, but the inkjet can be fussy with heads and flushing them and stuff like that. So sometimes some days the dry toner can outperform the inkjet when the inkjet's not behaving the way it's supposed to. At first my thought was when we got the inkjet in, that's it. Inkjet is the only way I want to go. This is the bomb. It's fantastic. But as we've learned and done more, you kind of learn where you're vulnerable in different technologies. So I think now I love so much to have both technologies. I've opened up the doors to being able to offer different looks, serve different markets. And and believe it or not, we had a label with a very small reverse type. And we thought, this isn't going to work on the inkjet. The type is too small. So we were printing it on the dry toner, and we said, but even on the dry toner, like, this is really small, and the registration was so tight. Believe it or not, at 600 by 600 DPI, it looked better on the inkjet than it did on the dry toner. So, it's funny. Not every file and not every job is created equal. And to have the ability to cross between technologies when you're not happy with what you're getting is makes us, to me, so much stronger, because somebody else, if they have one technology and they say this doesn't look great, what course of action do they have other than to go back to the drawing board and alter the artwork?
Inkjet, if the inkjet cannot do it for whatever reason, you do it on dry toner, and then you deliver the job, and that's the way. Is that too simple to explain it, or is that the way you do it?
No, that's true. I mean, the only time we will specify that to production that we want it run on a certain machine is if it's an estate stock, it has to run on dry toner. And when we have a big job, we'll say it only makes sense to run this on the inkjet, just sheer speed.
You already mentioned, okay, the beer labels, and craft beers is a big market for us. What are other markets that you are selling into?
Yeah, the nutraceutical is a fast growing industry. It's funny. I said to everybody, as this pandemic has gone on since ending of February, that we're doing beer, pot, and hand sanitizer labels. So everyone's at home drinking beer, smoking pot, and using hand sanitizer. So,
now, how do you sell?
we're not selling anymore. It's we got entrenched in the craft beer, and they all talk to each other. And it's just we've kind of organically grown.
No regret of made the choice for Xeikon when you said originally I was moving more to HP.
No, I don't. And even talking to people in the industry, I think that I'm very happy that we went Xeikon. I think we have a great product. We've been very profitable. I know what the numbers look like on Flexo, prior to getting into business. And the margins on Flexo are, I don't know how some guys do it, but I still feel that the margins on the digital print are still good. They're closing in on us a little bit, as we have neighbors that are buying Xeikons and buying other digital machines. So the digital is a quick growing market, and the people that never got on board are now looking to get on board.
All right. Well, Gary, thanks a lot for your time.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to talk to you.
Thanks.
That sounds
Gary.
great. Pleasure to chat with you, Frank.
Pleasure was mine. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.